Update 3. My sister-in-law's kids pranked my autistic daughter at family dinner and posted it online for everyone to mock. When I confronted them, my sister-in-law shrugged, "They're just being kids, get over it." My mother-in-law sneered, "Someone's trying to be a good parent." Everyone giggled and laughed at the video while my daughter sat there confused and hurt. I looked my daughter in the eye and whispered, "I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy's going to fix this." I didn't yell, I just quietly packed our things and left. That night, I made one call that made them come begging for forgiveness. The second call was from Patricia. She was furious, screaming about how I had destroyed the family and demanding that I fix this mess. I listened to her rant for about 30 seconds before hanging up on her. The third call was from Jennifer herself. She was sobbing, begging me to help her undo the damage. "Please, Elena, I'll make the kids apologize. I'll have Tyler delete the video, just please make this stop." "It's too late for that, Jennifer. You should have thought about the consequences when you decided to defend your children bullying Lily." "I didn't know it would go this far," she sobbed. "I never meant for Lily to get hurt." "Yes, you did," I said quietly. "You meant for her to be hurt, and you meant for it to not matter. You thought because Lily is autistic and different, it was okay for your kids to make fun of her. You thought her feelings didn't count." "That's not true." "Then why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you make them apologize? Why did you tell me to get over it when I confronted you?" Jennifer couldn't answer the question because we both knew the truth. The calls kept coming. Mike called to yell at me, Tyler called crying, saying kids at school were making fun of him. Madison called asking why everyone was being mean to her mom. Between the phone calls, I was getting messages and emails from people I hadn't heard from in years. Some were supportive, old friends from college who had seen the story spreading on social media and wanted to tell me they were proud of me for standing up for Lily. Others were less kind, distant relatives and acquaintances who thought I had gone too far and should have handled it privately. One particularly nasty email came from Patricia's sister, Margaret, who I had met maybe 3 times in 8 years of marriage. She accused me of being vindictive and destroying a good family over something insignificant. She wrote that Lily needed to learn to toughen up and that I was doing her a disservice by coddling her. I deleted the email without responding, but it stung nonetheless. What surprised me most were the messages from other parents in similar situations. A woman named Lisa reached out to tell me about her own autistic son who had been bullied by his cousins at family gatherings and how her in-laws had dismissed it the same way. She said seeing Lily's story had given her the courage to finally set boundaries with her husband's family. Another mother, Carol, shared that her daughter with ADHD had been consistently mocked and excluded by extended family members who claimed she was just hyperactive and needed more discipline. Carol had been suffering in silence, trying to keep the peace, until she saw how I had handled our situation. These messages reminded me why I had taken such drastic action. This wasn't just about Lily, it was about every vulnerable child who had been dismissed, mocked, or hurt by family members who should have been protecting them. I also received several messages from autism advocates and researchers who thanked me for exposing Jennifer's hypocrisy. One particularly touching email came from Dr. Amanda Roberts, a leading autism researcher whose work I had followed for years. She explained that fake advocates like Jennifer were actually harmful to the autism community because they spread misinformation and gave families false hope while simultaneously perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Dr. Roberts invited me to speak at an upcoming conference about authentic advocacy versus performative allyship. She said Lily's story was a perfect example of why the autism community needed to be vigilant about who they trusted with their platforms and their stories. On Wednesday night, I got a call from Lily's therapist, Miss Claire Bennett. She had heard about what happened through the parent network at Lily's school and wanted to check in on how Lily was processing everything. How is she handling the knowledge that her cousins were being mean to her? Ms. Bennett asked during our phone conversation. She seems to understand it on an intellectual level, I explained. She keeps saying that what they did wasn't fair, and that she hopes they learn to be nicer. But I can tell she's still confused about why they would want to hurt her when she was trying so hard to be their friend. Miss Bennett sighed. That's one of the hardest parts of autism for families to navigate. Kids like Lily have such pure intentions and genuine desire for connection. When that trust is betrayed, especially by family members, it can be really damaging. She recommended that we schedule some additional sessions focused on helping Lily understand that the problem wasn't with her, but with people who don't know how to appreciate differences. She also suggested some role-playing exercises to help Lily recognize when someone might be making fun of her versus genuinely including her. What you did was important, Elena, Miss Bennett told me before we hung up. Lily needed to see that her parents would fight for her dignity. Too many autistic children grow up thinking they have to accept mistreatment because they're different. Meanwhile, the fallout for Jennifer continued to escalate. I learned from a mutual acquaintance that Jennifer's husband, Mike, was furious with her, not because of what their kids had done, but because her response to the situation had cost them financially. Mike worked in construction, and many of his clients were people from our community who had seen the story. Several had canceled projects with his company, saying they didn't want to do business with someone whose family bullied disabled children. Tyler was facing consequences at school beyond just sensitivity training. Several parents had complained to the administration about the video, and the school had launched an investigation into cyberbullying. Tyler's phone had been confiscated, and he was facing possible suspension if the investigation found that he had violated the school's anti-bullying policies. Madison and Connor were struggling too, though in different ways. Madison, being 10, was old enough to understand that what they had done was wrong, but she was also angry at being associated with Tyler's actions. Connor, at 8, was mostly just confused about why everyone was upset and why they couldn't see cousin Lily anymore. The ripple effects extended beyond just our immediate families. Patricia's church group, where she had been very active, was having discussions about the situation. Several members had expressed concern about Patricia's attitude toward her granddaughter's disability, and the pastor had apparently suggested that Patricia might benefit from some education about autism and compassion. Jennifer's neighborhood was also buzzing with gossip. She had been quite visible in local mom groups and community organizations, often positioning herself as an expert on children's issues because of her online advocacy work. Now those same groups were reevaluating everything she had ever said or advised. One of the most satisfying pieces of information I received came from a former colleague of Jennifer at the healthcare company. This colleague, who reached out to me through LinkedIn, explained that Jennifer had often used her supposed expertise in autism advocacy to get assigned to diversity and inclusion projects at work. She had received bonuses and recognition for her community involvement and had even been featured in the company newsletter as an exemplary employee who was making a difference in the disability community. The irony is that she was literally profiting from pretending to advocate for people like your daughter while her own kids were bullying her, the colleague wrote. Management is taking this very seriously because it goes against everything our company claims to stand for. But the call that mattered most came Thursday evening. It was Brian. Elena, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee? We met at a small cafe near our house. Brian looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. I owe you an apology, he started, several apologies, actually. I waited for him to continue. I watched the video again, really watched it this time, and I looked at some of the comments. His voice cracked. I saw our daughter being humiliated, and I saw strangers laughing at her. And I realized what you've been trying to tell me all along, that my family has been hurting Lily, and I've been letting them do it because I was too much of a coward to stand up to them. Brian told me that he had spent the past few days talking to people, his coworkers, some of our friends, even Lily's therapist. Everyone had told him the same thing. What happened to Lily was cruel and unacceptable, and my response was completely justified. Lily is my daughter, Brian said, tears in his eyes. She's my responsibility to protect, and I failed her. I failed you both. He told me that he had called his mother and sister and told them exactly what he thought of their behavior. He had demanded that Tyler delete the video and post a public apology. He had told Patricia that unless she was willing to sincerely apologize to Lily and commit to treating her with respect, we wouldn't be attending any more family gatherings. What did they say? I asked.